I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? Hope you're doing well, feeling blessed, having a good day, having a good week. This one's going to be a massive pay-per-view. Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria, UFC 308. This is a massive pay-per-view. And before we get into breaking down the matchups, making predictions, doing all that good stuff that we do on a weekly basis, even though last week I didn't do that, it was an AI. And guys, let me know, did you enjoy the AI? Or was it weird? The AI is back, just in a different form. But yeah, guys, looking at my bets from last week, it was a tough week. It was a very tough week. Bellator, we had Larissa, and that was a fail. We had Paul Hughes, which was a good win, a very good win. But I also took a shot on Ferreira, which, you know, get dusted, right? Get dusted. And then on UFC, also a tough card, a very tough card. And even on KSW, 2 split decision losses. So last week, you know, that weekend, kinda dusty. But guys, UFC 308. Hey guys, another opportunity. Let's make some money on this one. Alright guys, let's go. And guys, by the way, I do have quite a big bet made already for UFC 308. I've only got one bet on this card. And I've gone pretty heavy on this one. You know, even after last weekend. You know, we got dusted last weekend. But I've gone heavy on this one. I feel like this bet's gonna win. I really do, but it's mixed martial arts, man. Anything can happen, you know? Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but I've gone for this one. I've really gone for it. Let's go. Moving into the first matchup of the card, we've got Carlos Leal taking on Rinat Fakhretdinov, and this is going to be very fun. A very fun matchup. Now, guys, Carlos Leal, for those that don't know, he's going to be making his UFC debut. He's already been tested at a pretty decent level, like in Bellator, in PFL. His levels, you know, it's been tested. He's also very composed on the feet. Like, very, very composed. Technical striking. However, as me and you guys both know, anytime you fight someone like Rinat Fakhretdinov, it's not the striking that you've got to prepare for. It's the wrestling. It's the grappling. It's the cage wrestling. It's the ground game. And Carlos Leal, if he can keep the fight in the striking realm, right? Because in my mind, and probably in a lot of people's minds, if Carlos Leal keeps this fight on the feet, it should be a very easy performance. It should be a mandatory win for Carlos Leal because that's his striking. You know what I'm saying? That's the level of Carlos Leal on the feet. The composure, the speed, the accuracy, the sharpness to the right hand to the body, the high kicks, the low kicks. Carlos Leal can strike on the feet. Now, Rinat Fakhretdinov does have good boxing pressure, but he doesn't really use the boxing pressure to cause real damage. He's using that boxing pressure to get the opponent going backwards. You know, pressure the opponent to the fence. From there, we can work takedowns. We can get the clinch. You know, we can make the fight more about grappling, more about wrestling, rather than striking. So guys, in my opinion, it's going to be a fight that's decided based on where the fight takes place. If Carlos Leal can defend the takedowns, if he can stay on the feet, more than likely, he's going to have a good start to his UFC career because his striking is so composed. Whereas Rinat Fakhretdinov, like I say, yes, the boxing pressure is good. Yes, we can see, you know, you want the opponent going backwards. But there's no damage for Rinat Fakhretdinov on the feet. So it's a fight that's going to be decided based on where it takes place. I actually think Carlos Leal can sprawl. I think he can, you know, hit that down block. And if he gets the down block, if he can work off the fence, you know, if he can even stay off the wire, stay off the fence, then it's going to be a good performance for Carlos Leal. I'm actually going to side with Carlos. I'm starting this one with an underdog. Now moving into a matchup between Bruno Silva taking on Ismail Naurdiev. And guys, let's start with Naurdiev because Naurdiev has already experienced being under the bright lights in the UFC. Back in 2019, back in 2020, Naurdiev had a few fights in the UFC. And I actually took Naurdiev as a massive underdog in his UFC debut back in like 2019. He was like a plus 400 and he won that fight. He done really well in that fight. Now, I'm not entirely sure why Naurdiev is getting another opportunity to fight in the UFC. He hasn't fought this year. He only fought once last year. He got TKO'd by that guy who recently fought on the Contender. Now, on the flip side, we've got Bruno Silva, who certainly has a lot of power. He's got big knockout power. But at times, he can be really reckless. Like against GM3. He kind of looked drunk against GM3. And then GM3 knocks him down. And he looks even more drunk after getting dropped, which, you know, that does make sense. You know, you get concussed, you become more drunk. Then against Chris Weidman, you know, again, too much recklessness. You know, just be composed. Just be composed there. Find the chin of Chris Weidman, and the rest takes care of itself. You know what I'm saying? You'll win that fight, you know what I'm saying? But he didn't. You know, the composure. Where's the composure of Bruno Silva? Where is it? It's too much recklessness. You know, it's too much, I want to find my target. I want to get to the target. But to do that, you know, where's the composure? Be composed. This is a high level. You know, these ain't amateurs. And I kind of see that recklessness in the game of Bruno Silva more than we should. So guys, how I kind of see this matchup playing out, if you ask me, you know, how does this matchup play out? I kind of see the technician, Ismail Naurdiev, being in control of this fight, you know, winning rounds, winning moments, you know, winning minutes. The minute winner in this fight is going to be Ismail Naurdiev. But Bruno Silva, if he eventually finds what he's looking for, and what he's looking for is the chin of the opponent. And once he finds the chin, it's big power. It's knockout power. And if he drops Ismail Naurdiev to the mat, he may just follow up with a couple punches on the ground, and that's the fight done, right? He's losing the whole fight, but eventually finds the knockdown and finishes the fight. That's kind of what I see. I see Ismail Naurdiev being the one that looks like they're about to win, but then eventually Bruno Silva finds it. I kind of see that. I kind of feel that. So I'm going to side with Bruno Silva. That's the pick. Next matchup, we've got Farid Basharat taking on Victor Hugo. And this one's going to be very decent, very fun fight. But more fun for one fighter than the other fighter, in my opinion. Now, guys, here's the thing. Farid Basharat is extremely well-rounded. His wrestling, his grappling, his footwork, his speed, his standard kickboxing combinations. He does the basics extremely well. And doing the basics extremely well makes you very good. Now, does Farid Basharat have one punch KO power? No, he doesn't. But that's not the deciding factor in being good or not. Farid is fast, he's smart, he's composed, he's quality in the wrestling and grappling. I mean, look at what he did to Taylor Lapalus. Dusted. You know what I'm saying? Dusted. That win's aging like fine wine. Now, on the flip side, you've got Victor Hugo, who certainly has a dangerous skill set. Right, his jiu-jitsu is dangerous. He's got big knockout power on the feet. However, his footwork is pretty bad. His cardio seems, you know, kind of dusty. And those two things go hand in hand. When you have bad cardio and bad footwork, you become a sitting duck. You know, you become stationary. You become easy to read, right? And again, I'm going to bring chess into the breakdown. When the chess opponent starts making plays that you already know that they're going to do, you know, you can start calculating, right? Take, checkmate. You know what I'm saying? You can start to calculate to the finish. And that's almost what happens in a fight, right? When the opponent becomes tired, when the opponent becomes hittable, you know, more stationary, more readable, you can start to calculate, okay, this fight's not making it to the end of the round. I can see the finish. And I'm going to find the finish. And Farid Basharat is extremely well-rounded. The wrestling, the grappling, the boxing, the kicking. It's all beautiful work from Farid Basharat. So guys, in my opinion, Victor Hugo, his chances of, you know, finding a win, finding a stoppage in this fight, he's got to find a submission or find a big knockout on the feet. Now, doing that against Farid Basharat, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. If Hugo slows down outside of round one, his submission attacks, you know, they become kind of weak, right? They become more defendable. Then his ability to find, you know, a well-timed knee or a well-timed uppercut or an overhand, those also become readable. And that's where Farid Basharat is going to find, you know, good success. He's going to find success on the feet, on the mat, find his own ground and pound, his elbows. Maybe take the back of Victor Hugo and start to work on, you know, his rear naked choke. Farid Basharat, in my opinion, is just too well-rounded. He's too good for someone like Victor Hugo. Whether it's cardio, whether it's speed, whether it's composure, IQ, he's just too good for Victor Hugo. So the prediction has to be Farid Basharat. Now, guys, moving into a matchup between Kennedy and Nzechukwu taking on who we got, Chris Barnett. Now, guys, here's the thing. Kennedy and Nzechukwu, he could be really, really good at fighting. He could be really good. But the thing with Kennedy and Nzechukwu is his mentality doesn't really match his physicality, if that kind of makes sense. You know, he's got the height, he's got the reach, he's got the physicality, you know, the power. He has all of that. But you know, you look at his performances, and at times, and when I say at times, I kind of mean all the time, he's too passive, you know, he's too soft, if that makes sense. I think he should be more aggressive. I think he should go into these fights with the mentality, you know, if you signed the paper, if you signed the contract to fight me, then I'm going to show you why you shouldn't have done that. You know what I'm saying? That should be the mentality. Because when you look at him against OSP, who's an old man, OSP's an old man, he's gone into that fight and kind of sparred with OSP and actually lost to OSP in a sparring match. You know, if you're fighting OSP, you should show him, look, you're an old man. And if you sign the paper, if you sign the contract to fight me, I'm going to dust you up. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Ryan Spann done. Ryan Spann fought to a perfect game plan. And that's not something you can really say about Ryan Spann. You can't really say that too much. You know what I'm saying? But he went into that fight against OSP and he touched his chin. You know what I'm saying? He found the chin in round 1. And that's what you want to do. But when you look at Kennedy, it's like, you know, why are you sparring? Why are you too passive? You know, the mentality, it needs to catch up to the physicality. Because when it does, then the physical skill becomes its most dangerous. When you have that mindset to go in there and impose real violence, to put real violence into your technique, when you can go in there and do that, you know, you're getting closer to the best version of yourself. And you don't see that from Kennedy. You don't feel that, you know. And even his coach kind of, you know, screams at him all the time. And that's the coach's job. The coach knows what Kennedy can do. The coach understands, you know, what he can do. And it's the coach's job to bring the best out of the student. It's my job as a coach to get the student to do what I know they can do, you know? And you always see that with Kennedy's coach, you know? He's always trying to get Kennedy to do what he's got to do. And it's almost like the mentality needs to catch up, you know? And guys, with Chris Barnett has excellent taekwondo. His taekwondo kicks, they're so beautiful. You know, his spinning techniques as a heavyweight, it's so good to see. But here's the thing, Kennedy will win this fight if he truly wants to win this fight. You will see that. If he wants to win this fight, he will win. It's the mentality, you know? There needs to be evolution in the game of Kennedy. And I want to see the aggression. I want to see, you know, if they sign the paper to fight you, show them why they shouldn't. You know, show me that. And I'm going to side with Kennedy. Hopefully he can show that. Hopefully. Now moving into a fight between Abus Magomedov taking on Bruno Ferreira. And who should we start with here? Let's start with Bruno Ferreira. Now, with Bruno Ferreira, he's got nasty KO power. We can see that. You know, when he finds the chin of the opponent, it's clear to see, right? Huge knockout power, devastating power. So if Bruno Silva finds the target early or at any time, there's a chance he could stop Abus Magomedov. However, in terms of technical skill, in terms of, you know, who can find the jab, and we know the jab isn't a fight-ending weapon, but it's still a very important weapon, right? The jab is almost assisting you to find a stoppage. The jab's helping you find your timing. It's a confidence builder. There's so much the jab offers, right? And finding it can be very important in a fight. And I think Abus Magomedov can probably find the jab a little bit more than Bruno Ferreira. And that's mainly down to the fact, you know, Bruno Ferreira isn't really looking for a jab. So technical striking skill, in my opinion, would go to Abus Magomedov. However, the cardio of Abus Magomedov has shown to be really questionable. I mean, the way he slowed down against Sean Strickland and the way he slowed down against Kyle Borrello, it would be fair to say, if Abus Magomedov slowed down against someone like Bruno Ferreira, there's a real possibility that Bruno Ferreira finds his chin. And if he finds his chin, especially when you're tired, the fight may be done. Would that be fair to say? But guys, also, Bruno Ferreira can be really reckless. You know, you're looking at him against Dustin Stoltzfus. He does find the finish, right? He does find the stoppage, but he's so reckless. So guys, my question is this. If the competition is improving for Bruno Ferreira, and that's what happens as you win, right? You win fights, your next fight becomes more tough, right? The opponent increases, the competition improves. If that's the case, if Bruno Ferreira still isn't trying to find a jab, if Bruno Ferreira is still reckless, does it become more difficult to find knockouts? Because Bruno Ferreira does have big knockout power, but if he's going about it in a reckless way, you know, trying to find the chin of Abus Magomedov in a reckless way, does he just lose the fight based on, you know, technicality? Does he just lose based on not being smart enough in trying to find a target? Whereas Abus Magomedov, he's not just looking for, you know, the one-hitter quitter. Whereas Bruno Ferreira is more, you know, one-hitter quitter. When I find it, fight done. I kind of see Abus Magomedov technically beating him. You know, just being smarter. So yeah, give me the German. Give me Abus Magomedov. Now moving into a matchup between Myktybek Orolbai taking on Mateusz Rebecki, I believe is the pronunciation. I might have butchered it. Now guys, really decent matchmaking. Very, very decent matchmaking. And what we've got here is primarily a grappling contest. When you look at Myktybek and also the opponent Rebecki, both of them like to have their opponents on the canvas, right? Rebecki has nasty ground and pound. And I believe I'm, you know, butchering that name every time, but someone who's Polish will let me know. Now, Mateusz has nasty ground and pound, ferocious ground and pound. His submission game is also dangerous. However, his cardio is so dusty. And, you know, Mateusz will go for the kill early in round one. And once he fatigues, and we've seen that more than once, right? We've seen that, you know, multiple times. But it was most obvious when he fought the veteran in his last fight, Diego Ferreira. You know, that performance, he gets so tired. And Diego, you know, he's got a black belt. He's got so much experience. And he just shows us that, right? He shows us, look, Rebecki, this guy's tired. And I'm going to smash him on the mat. And he did. Now, on the flip side, Myktybek, he does seem more composed. You know, he's not using all of his energy in round one. He understands the management of the cardio much better than the opponent. And actually, I would kind of compare the energy, the management of the energy to gamblers having to manage their bankroll, right? If a gambler gets too reckless and starts to bet stupid amounts, they may lose all of their bankroll. And the bankroll is like the cardio. So guys, looking at the matchup here between Myktybek versus Rebecki, I kind of see Myktybek being smarter. I kind of see Myktybek being able to control the fight more in terms of problem solving. And what I mean by that is this. If the matchup stays on the feet, because they're both grapplers, they're both wrestlers. If the matchup stays on the feet, Rebecki is still very powerful. You know, he throws everything with big power, right? Now, if the calf kick is landing for Rebecki, the big heavy calf kick, I think Myktybek, you know, just pushes him against the fence. Just 20 seconds against the fence, 40 seconds against the fence. You know, just good decision making throughout the fight. And also managing his energy much better than Rebecki. I just think he's, you know, smarter. Whether it's fight IQ or just problem solving during the fight. I think he's, you know, smarter than Rebecki. And that's kind of why I see Myktybek being able to win this matchup. I see him winning the fight based on problem solving and also managing his cardio better than Rebecki. So give me Myktybek for the win. Now moving into a matchup between Geoff Neal taking on RDA. And here we go. Here we go. Geoff Neal gets a great opportunity to put a legend on his CV or resume if you're American. And anytime you get an opportunity to fight a legend in the game, you say yes, right? You sign the contract. You start to prepare for a legend. And this is a good opportunity for Geoff Neal. And in all fairness, an opportunity he should dominate in. You're not fighting Prime RDA, right? And it's a good thing you're not fighting Prime RDA because Prime RDA would have caused serious problems. You know what I'm saying? Geoff Neal gets the chance to fight a very old, slower, more hittable RDA. And Geoff Neal should show us exactly that. Show us how easy it is to find the target. Show us how easy it is to cause damage against an older version of RDA. Which obviously, you know, some people may not want to see that. Some people don't want to see the OGs getting beat up like that. But guys, he signed the contract. You know, he put pen to paper. He said, yes, I can go in there and fight Geoff Neal. And it's nothing personal. But Geoff Neal, this guy thinks he can beat you. He thinks he can beat you, Geoff. What are you going to do about that? You know what I'm saying? Probably more than what Kennedy's going to do against an OSP. Now, guys, if you're RDA, maybe you grapple. Maybe you frustrate Geoff Neal. You know, make Geoff Neal tired from the grappling pressure, the battle against the fence. And at times, you know, show your experience in the striking. Let your hands fly. You know, just put on a classic RDA performance an experienced veteran's performance. However, if Geoff Neal shows up with the mindset, I'm going to show you why you shouldn't have signed the contract to fight me, hands of steel, Geoff Neal. I'm going to show you why you should retire. I'm going to show you why, fighting's a young man's game. If Geoff Neal shows up with that mindset, and that mindset does hold, very little respect for the opponent, if Geoff shows up with that, then it may be a tough night for RDA. It really might. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what Geoff Neal should be showing up with. And that's not what Kennedy shows up with against OSP. And the breakdown's becoming, roast Kennedy. But that's what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? This is an older version of RDA. So make it seem like that. You know what I'm saying? Put those hands of steel onto RDA. And when he does, it should be a fight where Geoff Neal gets his hand raised. It should be. So I'm going to side with hands of steel. Give me Geoff Neal. Now moving into a matchup between Shara Magomedov taking on Armen Petrosyan. And this one's going to be a fun Muay Thai striking matchup. If you like Muay Thai, you're going to like a fight between Shara Magomedov and Armen Petrosyan. And if you're someone that listens to my breakdowns on a weekly basis, you know how much I promote the striking art that is Muay Thai. Because these fights are decided based on damage. They're decided based on damage. And when you look at Muay Thai offers great violence. It offers real damage. 2 punches, 2 elbows, 2 kicks, 2 knees. The art of 8 limbs. So guys, we should probably assess who's the better of, Muay Thai. Who's the better Muay Thai striker between Shara Magomedov and Armen Petrosyan? Who's better? Who's got the better 8 limbs? Now, when I look at the kicks of Shara Magomedov and Armen Petrosyan, they can both kick. They're both so good at Muay Thai striking. But the speed of Shara Magomedov, when this guy throws his kicks, you can see the lightning speed. So I kind of give the kicks to Shara Magomedov just based on speed. And also kind of the technique. He can go high with the kick. He can go to the body. The kicks are so lethal of Shara Magomedov. And it's also the speed. I also give the elbows and the knees to Shara Magomedov. But guys, the boxing, I kind of give to Armen Petrosyan. I think he's a much better Thai boxer than Shara Magomedov. But when it comes to kicks, knees, elbows, I lean more towards Shara Magomedov. So overall, I'd say Shara Magomedov is the better Muay Thai striker. He's more well-rounded. There's more damage. There's more violence in the Muay Thai striking game of Shara Magomedov. Now, does that mean he's going to go in there and absolutely dominate Armen Petrosyan? I don't think so. Because Armen Petrosyan is very good at Muay Thai. He can compete with Shara Magomedov. And that's what makes the fight so fun. We're going to get a striking matchup between Shara Magomedov and Armen Petrosyan. Shara Magomedov isn't looking to bring Armen Petrosyan to the mat. And the same with Armen Petrosyan. He doesn't want to, bring the opponent to the canvas. Both these guys want to stay on the feet. They want to strike with the opponent. And that's what they both get to do in this matchup. They both get to go in there and show each other, look, this is Muay Thai and we're going to play Muay Thai. We're going to have a Muay Thai striking matchup on the feet. This is going to be a fun fight for the fans, for the fighters, for everyone involved. This is a Muay Thai striking matchup. And in my opinion, like I said, I believe Shara Magomedov is more well-rounded, more dangerous, more damaging with his Muay Thai in comparison to Armen Petrosyan. So give me Shara Magomedov. I don't even need to break down this fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to break this down. You guys already know. Dan 50k Ige, an excellent boxer, a great fighter. That's been tested on many occasions. A fighter that will show up in hours' notice, right? If Dana White phones Dan Ige and says, look, Dan Ige, a fighter's pulled out. I need you to fight. The fight's in 20 minutes time. Dan Ige will say, 20 minutes time. Hey, that's more than enough. That's more than enough. That's like, 19 minutes more than I need. You know what I'm saying? That's Dan Ige. Dan Ige will show up and fight anyone, anytime, anywhere, on any notice. You know what I'm saying? That's Dan Ige, man. The guy's the real deal. And sometimes when I say the guy's the real deal, some people will go to the comments and they'll be like, but is he the real deal? Is he really? Well, in terms of realness, Dan Ige is the real deal. This guy's real, right? When I say real deal, I'm not talking pound for pound, number one. I'm not talking John Jones. I'm just talking, the guy's the real deal. He's real. And I think, most people would agree with that. It's Dan Ige. He's so good. He's so well-rounded. The jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, the cardio, the toughness, the willingness to fight. Dan Ige, man. The real deal. Then you look at Lerone Murphy and his nasty boxing combinations. His ability to find basic boxing combinations. And I say basic combinations because they really are. He's not looking for 6-punch combinations. He's going with single strikes, 2-punch combinations. He's extremely composed and extremely technical. He understands the basics at an extremely good level. And as I mentioned earlier, doing the basics really well, it makes you a problem. So guys, when it comes to this matchup here, I'm kind of wondering, can Dan Ige just make this more about grappling? Can Dan Ige, make this more about jiu-jitsu? And I'm not saying that Dan Ige can't strike with Lerone Murphy. I'm not saying that. I'm kind of wondering, is that the smartest path against someone like Lerone Murphy? To go in there and basically say to Lerone Murphy, look, I want you to show your jiu-jitsu. I want you to show more about your grappling in order to beat me, right? And that's because, the English fighters were not known for jiu-jitsu. We're not known for our Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We're not known for sambo or wrestling. We're not known for judo. When it comes to competing against someone that's English, Lerone Murphy, his boxing, that's what we're mainly about. It's Muay Thai and boxing. We kind of do well at those arts. And Lerone Murphy's one of those guys. His boxing, his understanding of the jab, his understanding of, basic boxing combinations and using those basic combinations to win fights. Lerone Murphy's so sharp on the feet. So guys, in my opinion, if you're Dan Ige, you want to mix it up. You want to make this more about mixed martial arts rather than just boxing. This ain't just boxing. If you give Lerone Murphy just that stand-up fight, then he may do well, But if you make it more about mixed martial arts, we're going to go to the fence, we're going to go to the mat, we're going to mix it up. We're making it about mixed martial arts. If you do that, then this may be the first loss for Lerone Murphy. It really might. I'm going to side with Lerone Murphy. It's tough though. It's so tough. Give me Lerone. Now moving into a matchup between Magomed and Chimaev taking on Alexander Rakic. And guys, Chimaev and Rakic are clearly two of the best at light heavyweight. That's undeniable, right? These are two of the best at 205. And there's things that Chimaev can do in order to cause problems for Rakic. And there's also things that Rakic can do in order to cause problems for Chimaev. Ultimately, it's a great fight at 205 between two of the best. Now, guys, what is the one weapon that Jan Blachowicz used against Chimaev to cause real problems for Chimaev? What is that one weapon? It was the calf kick. It was the low kick, right? Once Jan Blachowicz started to find a home for that low kick, and it was early, right? It was early in the fight. And Chimaev starts to switch stances, right? He starts to really break down from the low kick of Jan Blachowicz. And he didn't really have an answer for the low kick. The only way he could stop the low kick was getting a takedown against Jan Blachowicz, and he did. Now, Alexander Rakic does have one of the best low kicks at light heavyweight. You see that Rakic low kick, it's so fast. It's so beautiful, right? He finds the low kick. He finds the calf kick. However, Rakic had a nasty knee injury against Jan Blachowicz. He was landing that calf kick, and then, the knee goes to Snap City. Hey, guys, you don't want to go to Snap City. You want to go to Money City, you know what I'm saying? Not Snap City. But Rakic did experience, the knee snapping, the knee turning to dust. And, that's a nasty injury. Now, he did return against Jiri Prochazka, but after round one, he starts to fade. Or at the end of round one, he starts to fade. And I also think his chin. Rakic has a dusty chin, right? Prochazka starts to find it. And Rakic, he kind of quits. And as I mentioned at the start of the breakdown, these are two of the best at 205. They're two of the best, you know what I'm saying? Rakic with the low kick. It's a nasty low kick. And we're seeing with Chimaev, when that low kick starts to land against Jan Blachowicz, when Jan starts to find that low kick, there's no answer. There's no answer for that kick. He gets the fight to the mat. That's his answer. He's not trying to check it. He's not trying to check and throw back like the Thais. In Muay Thai, it's, nothing for free. If you kick me, I kick you. You know what I'm saying? That's the Muay Thai mindset. But we didn't see that with Chimaev. You know, he's not a Muay Thai striker. He's more about grappling, and he will throw his strikes. His strikes are good. You know, they're crispy. And I just kind of think if that low kick is landing early for Rakic, you got to get the fight to the mat. You know, bring Rakic to the mat and win the fight. Now, guys, in my opinion, the betting line is probably wide. It's probably wide. But at the same time, looking at Rakic, you know, the knee injury, the time off, and also coming off a big knockout loss against Prohaska, it kind of makes sense. You know, Ankalaev being more in his prime. He hasn't, you know, suffered a nasty knee injury. He's not coming off a knockout loss. So, yeah, I'm going to side with Ankalaev. That's the pick. Now, moving into the co-main event, and a phenomenal co-main event. We've got Khamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker. And guys, you know, how do we make a pick? How do we make a pick between Whittaker and Khamzat? Because when it comes to Khamzat Chimaev, it's not prime Chimaev. You know, that would kind of be like the first argument that I'm going to make. Is it prime Khamzat Chimaev, right? What's the health like? Can he make weight? How much is he training, right? There's question marks in regards to Khamzat Chimaev, and I can't really answer those. You know, if you was to say to me, look, is he healthy? Is he like the most healthy he's ever been? I mean, we can answer that. No, obviously not, right? Is he training the best he's ever trained? I mean, we can try and answer it with logic. Probably no. Is it prime Khamzat? Is he showing up as his best version? That's what I want to know. And I can't really answer it. But if we had to, probably no, right? Now, on the flip side, actually, before we get to Robert Whittaker, Khamzat Chimaev, for those that don't know, he's one of the best wrestlers. He's an absolute mauler. When he gets the opponent to the mat, he will smash the opponent on the mat. He's a phenomenal wrestler, a mauler, right? But like I say, we don't know if he's showing up 100%. We don't know. Or we can try to answer that still and maybe say no, that he's not, right? Now, on the flip side, Robert Whittaker, as we know, this guy's phenomenal. This guy's one of the best to ever do it. You know, this is Bobby Knuckles. This is Robert Whittaker. You know, the sideways stance, the 1-2 with the head kick. You know what I'm saying? Robert Whittaker is one of the best to ever do it. And he's coming off a massive win against Aliskerov, right? This guy's been champion. He's been in those wars against Romero where he gets hurt early in a fight and has to stay in the fight, recover, work his way back into the fight. This is Robert Whittaker. This is one of the best to ever do it. And he's a big underdog, right? And he's arguably in good form. We can say that. We can say he's healthy. We can say maybe a little bit chinny, but he's not fighting an elite boxer in Khamzat Chimaev. We know Khamzat wants to bring him to the mat and smash you on the mat, dust you on the mat. And if Robert Whittaker does get taken to the mat, it may just be a case of, you know, let you do your best work early. I'm going to let you do your best work in round 1. Do your best work in round 1. I'm still going to be in round 2. Then if you know, continue to work in round 2, okay, I'm still here. We're going 10 minutes. I'm still here. Hey, let's keep fighting. You know what I'm saying? And if Khamzat can't continue to fight past round 2, if Khamzat's slowing down, if Khamzat starts to, you know, think about, I've not trained as much, I'm not prepared to go an extra 15 minutes against someone like Robert Whittaker, you start to break down. And when you start to break down mentally, that's even worse than physically. Because once the mental goes, you know, you start to quit. You start to think about, you know, I'm not going to get my hand raised in this fight. And when that starts to creep into your mind, you know, you see that. You see that in the performance. When you start to smell that, you know what I'm saying? When you smell that fatigue, when you smell the opponent starting to slow down and the opponent not wanting it as much as what you want it, when you smell that, you know, Robert Whittaker, man, he'll let you know. He'll let you know. Start to, you know, throw the head kick after the 2 punches. You know, 1-2 head kick. Robert Whittaker, man, this guy's the real deal. And it may just be a case of weathering that early Khamzat Chimaev storm. It may be that case. Or I'm completely wrong and Khamzat Chimaev does have his health in check and he is showing up 100%. He has been training like an absolute animal. Maybe that's the case. Maybe he goes in there and smashes Robert Whittaker and reminds us all, hey, Khamzat Chimaev, I'm here. I'm still here. Hey, you forgot. but I'll let you know. Who knows, right? We've got to find out on Saturday night. We've got to find out. Guys, give me Bobby Knuckles. Give me the underdog to weather the storm and to do it. Now, guys, moving into the main event, and a phenomenal main event between the champion Ilia Topuria versus Max Blessed Holloway. This is going to be phenomenal. If you missed this main event, there's not really a reason as to why you should miss the main event, right? And guys, I'm going to make a statement today that I believe most of you would disagree with, or, you know, at least 50%, maybe more than 50%. I'm going to make a statement. I believe that Ilia Topuria is the most well-rounded in the UFC and the most well-rounded in mixed martial arts today. Now, I know if, you know, Dana White was listening, he's going to instantly say, you know, John Jones. He's instantly going to start glazing on John Jones. Now, I'm going to make the counter-argument that the glazing of Ilia Topuria is more warranted in 2024, in October 2024. It's my opinion that Ilia Topuria has elite boxing. He also has elite wrestling and elite jiu-jitsu. He's the most well-rounded in the game today, in my opinion. Now, if you was to say, you know, Islam Makhachev is more well-rounded, I would bring the point personally that Islam Makhachev doesn't have elite boxing. Is his kickboxing good? Is his boxing, you know, something that's improved? Yes, but when you compare Islam Makhachev's hands to Ilia Topuria's hands, there's not really a comparison to be made, you know. Islam Makhachev is doing a good job with the boxing. Ilia Topuria, with his boxing, is phenomenal. It's something, you know, when you see it, when you see Ilia Topuria let those, you know, those big hooks, those big overhands go, and they're in combinations. There's not just one or two. There's multiple, you know, and if those first two don't catch the mark, you know, 3 and 4 will. You know what I'm saying? It's such a dangerous game that Ilia Topuria is playing because his hands are so sharp. His hands are so fast. The technique is perfect. When you put speed with perfect technique, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? You get destruction, you get dustoration, and that's what you see with the boxing, the hand speed of Ilia Topuria. Now guys, I want to speak about Max Holloway. Then we're going to come back to Ilia Topuria and speak more about, you know, what we need to speak about. But let's speak about Max Holloway. Guys, Max Holloway, the experience, you know, this guy's a champion. He's the BMF. Blessed man forever. You know what I'm saying? This is Max Holloway, a guy that, you know, entered the Matrix at one point, you know, against Calvin Kattar. He's firing off punches, speaking to the guy's cage side, you know, and it looks like, you know, who can box with Max Holloway? At this point, it looks like, you know, who can box with this guy? And as we know, he did dominate 145. He dominated 145 for years, right? It's my personal opinion, just my opinion. It's not a fact. It's not a fact. It's my opinion that Max Holloway was in his absolute prime at 145 when he fought Jose Aldo, when he was going over to Rio to fight Jose Aldo. You know, this is back in 2017. This is back in, you know, 2018 when he's fighting Brian Ortega. In my opinion, Max Holloway was in his absolute prime back then. Then Volkanovski showed up, and Volkanovski, you know, had, you know, multiple fights with Max Holloway. Max Holloway could never get his hand raised in those fights. They had 3 fights. They had a trilogy. He could never get his hand raised. He lost the division to Volkanovski, and Volkanovski then became one of the most dominant ever at 145, right? Now Ilia Topuria shows up, takes the division from Volkanovski, and what now? Max Holloway drops back down to 145 and does what? Takes the division from Ilia Topuria. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I think Max Holloway had his time at 145. And, you know, in his fight against Gaethje, he creates, you know, one of the best moments of all time. You can watch that, you know, that ending today and watch it tomorrow and the next day. You can watch that ending so many times and it just doesn't get old. You know, those final 10 seconds against Gaethje, just, you know, history. History, man. One of the best moments of all time. You can watch that. But it doesn't mean he's in his prime. It doesn't mean that. You know, in my opinion, he had his time at 145. It's now Ilia Topuria's time. That's my opinion. But guys, now let's speak about the actual fight. Let's actually speak about Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria and how Max Holloway can win the fight if he goes in there and fights smart, and how also Ilia Topuria can remain champion and prove that, you know, it's his time if he goes in there and fights smart. Let's speak about the main event, Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway. Guys, Ilia Topuria, as I mentioned, the boxing is phenomenal. But as you notice with Max Holloway, look at Max Holloway against Justin Gaethje, look at Max Holloway against Arnold Allen, and also the Korean Zombie. Notice how Max Holloway is fighting so smart by staying on the outside. Notice how Max Holloway is, you know, beating you on footwork. He's beating you on footwork. He's saying, look, you can't find my target. When you throw your hands, I'm not there to be seen. I'm going to move my feet. I'm going to dance on the outside. I'm going to bring the opponent to me, right? Because that's not something he'd done against Volkanovski in that final fight. If you look at that final fight, Volkanovski is the one that's on the outside. Volkanovski's the one that's allowing Max Holloway to run into the punches. And at one point in time, he even says to Max, he says, look, Max, you're too slow. You're too slow for me. You know, he's finding the zone against Max Holloway in that final fight. And Max Holloway is the one who's walking forward, being the aggressor, but walking into the punches of Volkanovski. Now, guys, as I've mentioned, Max Holloway, you know, he does the Uno reversal and he starts to make his opponents walk to him. You know, it's like he learned from those Volkanovski fights. He become even better. He becomes smarter. And that's something you've got to do as you get older, right? Adapt, right? Glover to Shara. If you don't adapt, you're not going to survive in this game. And Max Holloway starts to let the opponent be the one that's aggressing, and he just walks him into the punches. So it's good to see. It's good to see. However, if Ilia Topuria is walking forward, right, and Max Holloway is allowing him to walk into the teep, allowing him to walk into the 1-2, if Max Holloway is doing that, and Ilia Topuria can't get into the pocket, because we know Ilia Topuria is a phenomenal pocket boxer. Once he gets into the pocket, that's where he's, you know, those shoulders are so loose, and those big hooks, they fly and they find the mark. And when they do, it's lights out, right? If Ilia Topuria can't get into that pocket range, if he can't get into the pocket, this is where I'm saying he's the most well-rounded. This is where you're going to see Ilia Topuria switch up the game plan and make plan B plan A. Or in my opinion, plan B should already be plan A. Let's grapple against Max Holloway. Let's bring Max Holloway to the canvas. Let's wrestle against Max Holloway. Ask Max Holloway to show you his jiu-jitsu. Ask him to grapple, you know. And if you find the back of Max Holloway, it becomes a game of, you know, I'm going to hide my hand or you're going to fight the hand to stop the choke. And who's going to win that game? Who's going to win that game right there? Ilia Topuria is going to win that game right there. And this is where it becomes, you know, so complex, you know, like a chess match. What can I do to break down the opponent? What can I do to find success against the opponent? Because the opponent is going to cause their problems. How many problems do they present? And what can I do to counteract that? What can I do to cause my problems to the opponent? And I think Ilia Topuria clearly has more ways, more tools to win the fight. Elite boxing, better than Max Holloway's, in my opinion. And that's not something you really say in a breakdown where you're breaking down Max Holloway matchups. You know, you're not really going to say the opponent has better boxing than Max Holloway. And some people may disagree with me. Some people may say, look, Ilia Topuria is a phenomenal pocket boxer, but if he doesn't find his way into the pocket against Max Holloway, then he's not going to win the fight on the feet. You know, he hasn't got elite knees. He hasn't got elite kicks. He's not about, you know, Muay Thai. He's a phenomenal boxer with phenomenal wrestling and phenomenal jiu-jitsu. But he's not going to find his way into the pocket against Max Holloway because Max Holloway is doing what he should be doing. And that's moving his feet on the outside, staying long, using the teep kick and making Ilia Topuria think, I can't get into the pocket. How much longer until I find my way into the pocket? Because if you lose round one, you don't find the pocket, you lose round one. Okay, We're going into round 2. Is the game plan still to stay on the feet? Is the game plan eventually I'm going to find the pocket against Max Holloway? And when I do, I'm going to be the first to find the stoppage against Max Holloway? Or is the game plan, I'm the champion, I'm the most well-rounded in the game, and if I can't find the pocket, no worries. I'll take you to the canvas. I'll wrestle you. I'll show you my grappling. I can do this. I can do that. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. Is that the game plan? Is that the mindset of Ilia Topuria? Because it should be, in my opinion, it should be, because he's that good. He is that good. You know, you can find the takedown whenever you want. You don't have to just be walking forward to get into the pocket. You can be walking forward with the mindset, I'm going to get you to the canvas. We're going to make this about jiu-jitsu. Show me your jiu-jitsu. Don't just show me your boxing. Show me more. You know, this is more. It's not just boxing. This is mixed martial arts. And as I've mentioned, Ilia Topuria, in my opinion, is pound for pound number 1. He is. You know, we can't say it's Alex Pereira because Alex Pereira doesn't have, you know, elite jiu-jitsu. I don't think we can say it's Islam Makhachev because Islam doesn't have elite boxing. He has good boxing. It's not elite. We can't say John Jones because John doesn't fight. And when he does fight, and when he's going to fight, it's not against the best. I think Ilia Topuria deserves pound for pound number 1. And I also believe you're going to see that in this fight. I truly believe that. I think he's going to out-wrestle when he wants Max Holloway. I think he's going to out-grapple when he wants Max Holloway. I think he's going to out-box. Potentially not when he wants because Max is going to move. You know, Max is going to control the range, be active with the feet. But as you can tell with my breakdown, I'm going to side with Ilia Topuria. I'm going to side with Ann Still. Now, I did take Max Holloway as an underdog against Justin Gaethje. I also took Ilia Topuria as an underdog against Volkanovski. And both of those predictions at the time were kind of unpopular. You know, a lot of people sided with Justin Gaethje. A lot of people sided with, you know, Volkanovski, old man Volk. I'm siding with Ilia Topuria. And I understand, you know, the mixed martial arts community, the betting community, we're going to be split. We're going to be very split. But yeah, my breakdown is a truthful breakdown. I believe everything that I said in the breakdown. And my prediction is Ilia Topuria and Still. I think he's going to submit or win a decision against Max Holloway. That's my pick. And as always, my homies, drop down your main event, your co-main event, your parlays, your straight bets, your doubles, your money city bets, all that good stuff. Drop in the comment section below. And as always, enjoy the pay-per-view, enjoy the main event, enjoy the card. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Peace.